The narrator Manoj Das, as a child, witnessed the incident of the missing cap of the minister standing near the backside window of the cabin where the minister was taking his rest. In fact, he was standing at the backside window of the cabin because he was curious about the minister. Now, let us go through the third unit of the lesson Mystery of the Missing Cap. While I stood near the window, suffering the first shock of disillusionment of my life regarding the great man, for the minister was snoring like any ordinary man, something most extraordinary happened. While I refers to the narrator Manoj Das as a child, was standing near the window of the cabin where the Honorable Minister Babu Birkishore was taking his nap, suffering the first shock of disillusionment of my life regarding the great man. Suffering the first shock. Here, shock means regret, and disillusionment means disappointed in someone that one discovers to be less good than one had believed of his life regarding the minister. For the minister was snoring like any ordinary man. He thought very high of the minister, but when he found the Honorable Minister Babu Birkishore was snoring while he was asleep like any ordinary man, he became astonished. At that time, something most extraordinary happened. Now let us read what was that most extraordinary happened. Speechless I was already. The narrator, Manoj Das, was already speechless. The incident rendered me witless. Here the incident refers to the disappearance of the minister's cape. Rendered means turned. Me refers to the narrator. Witless means clueless. Through the window, I had observed that the minister's egg-bald head rested on a gigantic pillow while his white cap lay on a table near his bed. Through the window, the narrator, Manoj Das as a child had seen that the minister's egg-bald head rested on a gigantic pillow. Gigantic means huge pillow, while his white cap lay on a table near his bed while he was taking his sleep in the cabin allotted to him in the house of Sri Maharana. The narrator found through the window of the cabin that the minister's egg-bald head rested on a huge pillow and his white cap was kept on a table near his bed. Now I saw the notoriously irresponsible Jhandu bounce towards the window like a bolt from the blue and pick up the cape. A bolt from the blue is an idiom which means unexpectedly. Now I refers to the narrator Manoj Das as a child saw notoriously irresponsible. Notoriously irresponsible means wickedly reckless. Jhandu. And who was Jhandu? Jhandu was the monkey kept in the house of Sri Maharana. Bounce. Bounce means jump towards the window unexpectedly and picked up the cape of the minister. Jhandu, the monkey, after picking up the cape of the minister, threw a meaningful glance at the writer. Thereafter, he disappeared into the group. That means Jhandu went away with the cape of the minister. Even when my stupefaction passed, I was unable to shout, partly because of my deep affection for Jhandu, knowing that the consequences of his crime could be fatal to him, and partly for fear that the minister's snoring might cease. Even when my stupefaction passed, I was unable to shout. Why was the narrator, Manoj Das as a child, was unable to shout when he witnessed Jhandu, the monkey, went away with the minister's cape? The reasons were his deep affection for Jhandu, as he knew that the consequences of his crime could be fatal or deadly to him, and secondly, for fear that the minister's snoring might cease if he shouted. I was in a dilemma. In a dilemma means in a conflict. He was The narrator was in a conflict as to which he should give the priority, to give more importance, the great man's cave or his snoring. Thus, the narrator Manodas, as a child, had witnessed the mystery of the missing cape of the Honorable Minister Babu Birkishore from the cabin. Then he returned home pensive. Of course, here home refers to his maternal uncle's house, as his maternal uncle's house was very near to the house of Sri Mahana. He could hear any sort of noise staying in the house of his maternal uncle. Hardly he had reached the house of his maternal uncle when he heard a suppressed yet excited noise. So he again went to the house of Srimhana. Crossing into Srimhana's compound, I saw the minister's PA flitting about. Flitting means moving about like a butterfly, and heard his repeated mumbling. When he reached the house of Sri Mahana, he found the personal assistant of the minister or the minister's PA moving about like a butterfly, and heard his repeated mumbling, and the narrator heard the repeated mumbling of the PA. Mysterious, mysterious. The minister was obviously inside the cabin. Yes, when the cape of the minister disappeared from the cabin, he was present there, and the cabin was locked inside, and nobody was allowed to enter into the cabin of the minister. The minister was obviously inside the cabin, but nobody dared go in. Srimahana stood thunderstruck. Srimahana was nervous and he was stunned. He was thunderstruck. He stood thunderstruck, as did other patriots, and the same was the condition with other patriots. The public relations officer was heard saying, "The Honorable Minister does not mind the loss of the cape so much as the way it disappeared." The narrator Manodas could also hear the public relations officer saying, "The Honorable Minister does not mind the loss of the cape so much as the way the cape of the minister disappeared." Evidently, there is a deep-rooted conspiracy. He thought the missing of the minister's cape was a deep-rooted conspiracy. Conspiracy means secret plan. The gravity or the intensity of the situation can hard be exaggerated or overstated. In fact, I fear it may have devastating effects on the politics of our country. Here I refer to the personal or public relations official fears that the missing of the minister's cape may have devastating effects or consequences on the politics of our country. I could see Sri Mahana literally shaking. Here I refer to the narrator Manodas as a child could notice Sri Mahana literally shaking. He was sweating like an ice cream stick. At the same time, he was sweating like an ice cream stick so profusely that I was afraid. He was sweating so profusely that the narrator feared that at that rate he might completely melt away in a few hours. When I saw Sri Mahana's condition, the conflict within me as to whether I should keep the knowledge of the mystery a secret or disclose it was resolved. When Manodas as a child saw the condition of Sri Mahana, he took pity on him, and the conflict within him as to whether he should keep the knowledge of the mystery of the missing cape a secret or disclose it was decided. He signaled him to follow him which Simhana eagerly did. Then Manodas signaled Simhana to follow him, and it was done by Simhana. A drowning man will indeed clutch at a straw. Clutch at a straw means depend on a little thing, and the same condition had happened with Simhana. His condition was no better than a drowning man, as a drowning man will indeed clutch at a straw to save his life. Similarly, Simhana did whatever he was said by child narrator. I told him what had happened. When Simhana came to the narrator, he told him what had happened. He stood dumb for a moment. When he came to know about the incident of the mystery of the missing cape, Simhana stood dumb for some time, eyes closed, and he listened the things with eyes closed. Then wiping sweat from his forehead, he smiled like a patient whose disease has been diagnosed all right but is known to be incurable. Thereafter, Simhana wiped his sweat from his forehead. Then he gave a smile like a patient whose disease has been diagnosed, but the patient knew that the disease is incurable. He then petted child Manodas and said, "My son, nice you told me. Thank you for informing me about the mystery of the missing cape. But keep it strictly to yourself." He requested the narrator Manodas not to disclose the incident to others. Rather, he requested him to keep the secret strictly to himself. He also assured to the narrator that he would reward him later. The incident had thrown a wet blanket on the occasion. As you know, all the villagers were very much excited and happy when the Honorable Minister of Fisheries and Fine Arts made his visit to their village. But the incident of the missing cape of the Honorable Minister had thrown a wet blanket on the occasion. Thrown a wet blanket on the occasion means spoiled the fun. It is an idiom and it means spoiled the fun. And the incident of the missing cape of the Honorable Minister had spoiled all the fun and frolic. From the sepulchral silence, sepulchral means sad and frightening. From the sepulchral silence means there spread sad and frightening silence all around after the missing of the minister's cape. From the sepulchral silence of the minister's room, all that could be heard was his intermittent coughing, and from that sad and frightening silence of the minister's room, all that could be heard was his periodic coughing. And every time the honorable minister coughed, anxiety damped the spirit. Damped means lowered. The spirit means zeal of the people who were present both in the courtyard and on the veranda. I went away to join my friends. Thereafter, the narrator Manodas went away to join my friends. They were full of anxiety. When the narrator joined his friends, he found that they were also full of worries and anxieties. One of his friends said that if the thief were caught, the police would hang him on the big banyan tree beside the river. Some twigs have already been cut off. See what the little boys said and talked among themselves after the missing of the cape of the minister. One of the boys said, if the thief were caught, the police would hang him on the big banyan tree beside the river. And another boy said, some small branches or twigs have already been cut off, and if the thief were caught, surely the police would hang him on that big banyan tree beside the river. Another boy said, perhaps all the villagers will be thrown into jail. Among us, there were even such knaves. Knaves means ignorants, innocents, who believed that the minister's cape was a sort of Aladdin's lamp. There were some boys who were quite ignorant, innocents, and they believed that the minister's cape was a type of Aladdin's lamp. You know, Aladdin had a magic lamp, and whenever he rubbed the lamp, there appeared a genie and followed whatever he was said by Aladdin, the master. Similarly, some of the boys who were innocents believed that the minister's cap was a type of Aladdin's lamp, that anyone who put it on, who would wear it, would possess the ministerial power.